New questions today about the federal government's decision to sue two major American employers for failing to hire or employ convicted criminals. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has filed lawsuits against BMW in South Carolina and Dollar General stores based in Tennessee. Fox News analyst Bernie Goldberg is here to explain what's behind these lawsuits. Bernie, good to see you. What's the theory here?
I will give you the no frills, just the facts version. The EEOC, a federal agency, Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, sued those two companies that you mentioned for racial discrimination. Now, this is important. There are no memos, there are no voicemails, there are no emails indicating that somebody said, let's not hire black people here. The EEOC isn't even alleging that. But the companies had criminal background checks. And federal statistics show that blacks are convicted far, far more often than whites of serious crimes. Therefore, fewer blacks got the jobs, or to look at another way, Megan, more blacks were rejected from getting the jobs. And the EEOC, or more precisely, the liberal bureaucrats at the EEOC, contend that in and of itself is racial discrimination.
They say, and I quote, it is an issue of fairness. And they say people should pay for their crimes, but should they pay for them for the rest of their lives? And they think BMW and these other employers are making them do that.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, or at least from their point of view, and an arguable statement. Their position is that each case should be handled individually, that the employer should go to the prospective job seeker, and he or she should have the opportunity to say, you should hire me despite my conviction on murder charges years ago, or armed robbery, or whatever it is. And that's not a crazy point of view. The companies are put in a tough spot, because if they hire somebody with a violent background, because they're required to, what if that person goes off on a customer or a fellow worker? And should they be obliged to hire somebody who's had a conviction regarding theft, for instance, theft of money? Should that person automatically be able to get a job as a cashier at Dollar General? That's the tough spot. On the one hand, should they be...
The lawyers are going to come after the companies if they hire a reformed criminal, and then that person commits another criminal act. The victim of that second act is going to turn to Dollar General or BMW and say, you should have known.
Exactly. But here's what it's all about. Because to most regular folks out there listening to us, this has to sound crazy. Because there's no racial discrimination in any traditional sense. It's just because the outcomes are different. And what this is called, there's actually a name for this, it's called disparate impact. Disparate impact. So you don't have to prove discrimination that he's, one boss said to another boss, hey, whatever you do, don't hire those black people. You don't have to prove that. That doesn't even have to.
No, it's a numbers game.
You don't have to prove it. It doesn't have to exist.
It's a numbers game. They say that 37% of those behind bars last year were black, even though blacks make up only 13% of the U.S. population. Right. And they say, therefore, if you have a blanket policy that if you have a criminal background you can't get hired, it of course, is going to affect black people, they believe, disproportionately to whites.
Exactly. Now, look, I admit this is a bit of a stretch, but if you're going to take this disparate impact argument to its illogical conclusion, then I'd have a case against the NBA, because only 13% of the American population is black, but, geez, about 75% of the, or short people.
Do you have any basketball talents whatsoever?
I do. I was the captain of my intramural team that went to the finals at Rutgers University.
After school in 8th grade, but nobody ever called.
No, but the point is that argument wouldn't hold up in that they would say, well, you have to have NBA ability, okay?
Right.
But when they have tests for lieutenant in the fire department and minorities don't make the cut, there have been lawsuits saying disparate impact has affected minorities, and they should get the promotion even though they didn't pass the test. Well, if I don't have ability to play in the NBA and they didn't pass the test, then maybe they don't have the ability to be a lieutenant in the fire department. So disparate impact is a very slippery slope, and from my point of view, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But let's make clear, these two companies are discriminating. They are, against convicted felons, whether they're white or black.
Right, right. And actually, it looks like, though, it may not be just felons, because one of the complaints was that one woman with 14 years under her belt was let go after a misdemeanor conviction surfaced that was more than 20 years old.
Right, right.
And the Washington Post article outlines that.
Thanks for pointing that out. But most of the crimes listed in the case are murder, assault and battery, domestic violence, serious stuff.
Yeah, serious crimes. And they say more than 2/3 of companies do conduct these criminal background checks, and 60% report that violent crimes would or could disqualify a candidate. Final word, 7 states, including Maryland, have adopted these laws that prevent you from including questions about criminal history on job apps, and bills are pending in 4 other states. Bernie, thanks for being here.
Okay, thanks, Megan.